Welcome to Marketing Momentum on the Rise, the show where we burn off the noise, fix what's broken in your growth engine, and rebuild with clarity. I'm Sterling Phoenix, and if your funnel's stalled, your message is ghosting your buyers, or your team can't agree on what's actually working, this is the Clarity Pass you didn't know you needed. Let's go. Enterprise buyers don't buy on promises. They buy on proof. And if you don't have it, you're dead in the water. I'm talking about the VP of sales who just lost a 7-figure deal because the prospect asked for 3 customer references and they had 0 they could share. And the CMO who spent 6 months building a gorgeous website, perfecting the messaging, crafting the brand story, and then watched deals stall because there wasn't a single case study to back up their claims. And the founder who can articulate the value, demo the product beautifully, and answer every technical question that customers have, but can't show any proof that anyone else has actually ever succeeded with the solution. You're not losing deals because your product isn't good enough in those situations. You're losing deals because you can't prove it. In enterprise B2B, there's a harsh reality that many marketers and leaders refuse to face: case studies or death. That's not dramatic. That's just actual calculus. Because enterprise buyers have been burned way too many times by vendors who promised transformation and then delivered mediocrity. And they've sat through countless demos of revolutionary new solutions that actually fell apart in production. So they don't care about your promises anymore. They care about proof, real proof, from companies like theirs, with problems that are actually like theirs, who got results with your product or your service that they can actually verify. And if you can't provide that proof, then you don't get the meeting. You don't get the pilot, and you definitely don't get that contract. If that's your reality right now, then this episode is your lifeline. Welcome to The Rise with Sterling Phoenix, the podcast for leaders who are done with marketing theater and ready for revenue reality. I'm Sterling Phoenix, and this is a fire episode, the bold, raw talks where we rip apart the uncomfortable lies and get to what actually works. And today, we're going deep on the proof problem in enterprise B2B marketing. We're going to talk about why it's killing your pipeline, why silence is more expensive than a bad logo, and how to build testimonial traction even when your clients are locked down tighter than Fort Knox. Because here's what I see happening in companies across every sector. Marketing teams obsess over brand guidelines, website copy, and thought leadership content. And sales teams build elaborate pitch decks with beautiful value propositions and ROI calculators. And then they get into the room with enterprise buyers and get asked the one question that ends the conversation: who else has done this successfully? And the answer is either silence, stammering, or we can't share that information due to confidentiality. Then game over. Because in long cycle B2B sales, proof isn't optional. It is the currency. Buyers aren't looking for the most innovative solution. They're actually looking for the most proven solution, the one that reduces their career risk, the one they can defend to their board when it's time to justify the investment. And if you can't give them that proof, then someone else will. So in the next 45 minutes, we're going to solve this problem. We're going to break down why enterprise proof is different and how to build it even when clients won't let you use their names, and how to turn proof from a scramble into an actual system. Because the companies that scale in enterprise, they don't have better products. They just have better proof. And after this episode, so will you. Let me tell you about Marcus. Marcus is the CTO of a Fortune 500 financial services company, and he's evaluating a new data platform that promises to reduce processing time by 60%, cut infrastructure costs by 40%, and, revolutionize how his team handles customer data. The vendor's deck is really beautiful, and the demo is flawless. And I feel like the ROI projections are really compelling. But Marcus has been a CTO for 12 years, and in those 12 years, he's seen 47 vendors make similar promises. And about half of them delivered maybe like 20% of what they claimed. A quarter of them created more problems than they solved, and a few were outright disasters that cost him millions and nearly cost him his job. So when the vendor finishes their pitch and asks if he has any questions, Marcus asks the only question that matters. Who else in financial services is using this, and can I talk to them? The vendor hesitated. Well, we're working with several major institutions, but due to their confidentiality agreements, we can't disclose who they are or share specifics about their deployments. Marcus closes his laptop. The meeting is over. Here's what you need to understand about enterprise buyers today. They've hit trust bankruptcy. They've been promised transformation so many times that the word has lost all meaning. They've sat through demos that looked amazing in conference rooms and collapsed in production. And they've signed contracts based on vendor promises that turned out to be vaporware. And now they're done believing. Every claim you make, no matter how true, no matter how well documented, no matter how compelling, well, it lands as skepticism until you can prove it. We'll reduce your cost by 40%. Prove it. We'll cut implementation time in half. Prove it. We'll improve your team's productivity by 3 times. Prove it. Not with projections, not with theoretical ROI calculators, and not with your internal benchmarks, with real customers, real deployments, real results. Proof isn't nice to have in enterprise sales. It's the ticket to entry. The issue is the vendor fatigue factor, and it's getting worse, not better, because enterprise buyers are being bombarded every week. They're contacted by 10 to 15 vendors, all promising similar outcomes, all using similar language, and all claiming to be the only solution you need. Your competitor just told them they'd cut costs by 35%, and now you're claiming 40%, and another vendor is claiming 50%. Without proof, you're all just numbers on a spectrum of exaggeration. The buyer's default assumption is that everyone is overpromising and under-delivering, and they're making their decision based on who can prove they're not doing that. So, what does proof mean to an enterprise buyer? It's not your marketing messaging, and it's not your product positioning. It's not even your demo. Proof is actual evidence that someone like them with a problem like theirs used your solution and got results they can verify. That evidence comes in very specific forms. First of all, customer stories with real metrics, not improved efficiency, like specific numbers. Reduce processing time from 4 hours to 47 minutes across 2.3 million transactions per month. And reference conversations. Having the ability to talk directly to someone at a similar company who's already implemented your solution and can speak candidly about what worked, what didn't, and what they do differently is gold. And documenting case studies, ideally with the customer's name and logo. But even without attribution, a detailed narrative that shows here's where they started, here's what we did, and here's what changed, and here's how we measure it, that works. And third-party validation. Any kind of analyst of reports, industry awards, security certifications, compliance audits, anything that shows an objective party has evaluated you and found you to be credible. And proof of scale. Not that we work with enterprise clients, but specific scale indicators, such as deployed across 47 global locations, or processing 12 billion transactions annually, or supporting 250,000 plus end users. Do you notice what all of these things have in common? They're specific, they're verifiable, and they remove the bulk of the buyer's risk. Because here's the reality in enterprise buying. Nobody gets fired for choosing the proven vendor, even if it costs more, even if it's not the most innovative solution. But people absolutely get fired for choosing the unproven vendor who promises the moon and crashes during implementation. So, enterprise buyers don't optimize for the best outcome. They actually optimize for the lower career risk. And your job is to prove that you're the lower risk choice. And in enterprise B2B, this matters even more because of the sales cycle length. You're not selling $99 a month SaaS tools where someone can just try it for 30 days and cancel it if it doesn't work. You're selling a 6 or 7 figure solution with a 12 to 18 month sales cycle and 6 to 9 months of implementation time and a 3 to 5 year contract. If the buyer gets this wrong, they are stuck with it, and they're stuck explaining why they made that choice to their CFO, their CEO, and their board for years. That's why they're allergic to promises, because promises are so cheap. Proof is really expensive, and they're not risking their career on your promise when your competitor has proof. There's definitely a hidden cost to no proof, and here's what most people don't realize about the proof gap. It doesn't just cost you the obvious lost deals. It costs you in dozens of invisible ways. This includes longer sales cycles, because without proof, buyers need way more validation, more demos, more due diligence, more stakeholder buy-in. What could have been a 6 month cycle becomes 18 months. And pricing pressure, because without proof, you can't command a premium price. You're competing on price instead of value because you can't prove the value. And higher customer acquisition costs. Your sales team has to work so much harder, do more meetings, overcome more objections, and your cost of customer acquisition skyrockets because you're fighting an uphill battle on every single deal. And narrower market reach. Because without proof from specific verticals or use cases, you can't expand into new markets. Every new vertical requires that you get your first win with zero proof, which is nearly impossible. And sales team burnout, because your best salespeople leave because they're just tired of losing deals they know they should win. They're tired of running into the proof wall over and over. And your board and investor confidence erodes. When deals keep stalling at the proof stage, your board starts questioning your go-to-market strategy, your market fit, and your entire approach. So the cost of not having proof isn't just lost revenue. It's organizational momentum and market position and strategic optionality. So if you're sitting here thinking, we need better case studies, you're not wrong, but you're probably underestimating how urgent it is. Because while you're waiting to build the perfect case study, your competitors are closing deals with imperfect proof. And while you're negotiating with legal about what you can and can't say, your pipeline is dying. While you're trying to get that logo approval from your biggest client, you're losing deals you should be winning. Silence is killing you faster than you realize. And that's what we're going to solve next. Let me tell you about the most common conversation I have with B2B marketers. We'd love to do case studies, but our customers won't let us use their names. We're working on getting approval, but legal review takes 6 to 9 months. Or we have great results, but everything's under NDA. And then they show me their website, and it's beautiful, professional, well-designed, and completely devoid of proof. No customer quotes, no results, no evidence that anyone anywhere has ever successfully used their solution. Just promises, just positioning, just trust us. And I ask them, what is your sales team supposed to do when a prospect asks for proof? And the answer is usually some kind of version of, we're working on that. Meanwhile, deals are dying. And why is this? Well, here's the trap most companies fall into. They wait for the perfect case study, the one with the big name logo they can display prominently, the glowing testimonial from the C-suite executive, the beautiful before and after metrics, and the polished design with custom graphics the full legal sign off from both sides, and then PR approval from the client's communications team. And you know what happens while they're waiting for that perfect case study? Nothing. The sales team goes into meetings empty handed. They tell stories verbally that prospects don't even trust. They promise results they can't substantiate, and they lose deals to competitors who have imperfect proof, but real proof. And the irony? Imperfect proof beats perfect silence every single time. So I'm sure you're asking, what does good enough proof look like? Well, let me give you a scenario. Your sales team is in the final round conversation with a major prospect. The technical evaluation is done, the pricing is within the range, and the deal should close. And then the prospect says, "This all sounds great, but can you show us that it actually works for companies like ours?" And then that puts you into one or two scenarios. Scenario A, the perfect case study that doesn't exist yet. So your rep says something like, "We're actually working on several case studies right now that should be ready in the next few months. In the meantime, let me walk you through our value proposition again." And then the prospect hears, "We don't have any proof. We're asking you to take a risk." And deal stalls and probably dies. Or scenario B, the imperfect but real proof. And your rep says something more like, "Absolutely, let me share an example. We recently deployed this for a Fortune 500's financial services firm. While I can't share their name due to confidentiality, I can tell you that they came to us with a nearly identical challenge to yours. They were processing about 50,000 transactions per day with an average lag time of 90 minutes. After our 6-week implementation, they got that down to under 12 minutes, and they've been running at that performance level for 8 months now with zero downtime incidents. While I can't give you a direct reference to their CTO, I can connect you with our VP of engineering who led that implementation, and he can walk you through the technical specifications and how we'd approach your deployment similarly." The prospect hears real deployment, real results, real proof, even without the name. The deal moves forward. There are a number of ways that you can do similar things. So let's start with a framework that works incredibly well when you can't use names. I call it the ghosted authority quote. So instead of "our clients love our platform," you'd say, "The CTO of a top 5 global insurance company told us this is the first platform we've deployed that actually reduced complexity instead of adding to it. We cut our integration time by 60%, and our developers are actually happier." You see, you didn't name the company and you didn't violate any NDAs, but you did provide role specific credibility, the CTO, industry context, insurance, scale indicator, top 5 global, the specific outcome, 60% faster integration, and emotional proof, developers are happier. That's usable proof. Is it as strong as a full case study with a logo and attribution? No. Is it infinitely better than saying our platform reduces complexity? Absolutely. Here's another approach that works when you have multiple clients with similar results, but none of them who will go public. You do a composite case study. You take the results from 3 to 5 similar deployments and combine them into one narrative. It goes something like this. We worked with a mid-market manufacturing company facing the challenge of, insert your problem. Over a 12-week implementation, we deployed, put in your solution approach. The results, inventory accuracy improved from 78 to 96%, stock out incidents decreased by 43%, and the finance team cut month-end close time by 2 full days. These results are generally representative of deployments we've completed with 14 manufacturing clients in the past 18 months, with an average inventory accuracy improvement of 18 percentage points. Is this a specific client? No. Is this real proof backed by real data? Yes. Can your sales team use this? Absolutely. Another option is to use the metrics first approach, because sometimes you can't tell the stories at all, but you can share aggregated metrics. So instead of a case study, you create a one-pager that says results across 23 enterprise deployments in 2024. Average implementation time, 8.2 weeks. Average uptime in the first 90 days, 99.7%. Average productivity improvement, 34%. Average cost reduction, $280,000 annually. Client retention rate, 96%. Again, no names, no logos, no specific stories, just proof that this solution works at scale, consistently, and with measurable results. Again, that's proof your sales team can use today. Here's another tactic that I think works so brilliantly in enterprise. Build a network of executives who will speak to prospects off the record. You'll have 10 to 15 happy clients who can't go public, but would be willing to have a 30-minute conversation with a serious prospect. Your sales team doesn't promise, here's a reference you can call. They say, I can't provide a public reference, but if you're seriously evaluating this and want to speak confidentially with the CEO of a Fortune 100 company who's been using our platform for 18 months, I can arrange that conversation. It would be under NDA and off the record, but you'll get an unfiltered feedback on conversation. That's proof that closes deals, because the prospect knows real customers exist. They're senior enough to matter, they're willing to vouch for you, and the conversation will be candid, which makes it way more credible. So why is silence worse than imperfect proof? Because silence signals risk. When a buyer sees no proof, no customer quotes, no case studies, no metrics, no validation, their brain fills in the blanks. They probably don't have any happy customers. Their solution probably doesn't even work as well as they claim. I'd be taking a huge risk being an early adopter. They're probably still just figuring this out. Even if none of that is true, that's what silence communicates. But when you have imperfect proof, like ghosted quotes, anonymous metrics, composite stories, at least you're signaling real companies have used this successfully. We have results we can point to, and you're not the first. You're not the guinea pig. We know how to deliver. That's the signal that moves deals forward. So here's what I need you to do this week. Stop waiting for the perfect case study. Look at your last 10 closed deals and pull out one unattributed quote from a happy customer, and one metric that shows results, and one industry or company size descriptor. Package those three things into a simple one-pager. No fancy design, no logo request, no legal review that takes 6 months. Just, here's what a similar company experienced. And give that to your sales team tomorrow. Because imperfect proof beats perfect silence every single time. And once you have imperfect proof moving deals forward, then you can work on building perfect proof. But don't let perfection kill your momentum. Now let's talk about why enterprise proof is different from small to medium business proof and why most marketers get this catastrophically wrong. Because if you're applying small to medium business marketing metrics to enterprise sales, you're going to fail. The rules are completely different. In small to medium business marketing, proof is loud and public. Customer logos splashed across your homepage, testimonials with headshots and company names, case studies with before and after screenshots, review sites like G2 and Capterra, and social proof like join 10,000 happy customers. Well, that works in small to medium businesses because buying cycles are short and individual buyers are making decisions. The risk is relatively low and customers are happy to be featured. But in enterprise, almost none of that applies. Enterprise buyers don't trust crowd proof. They don't care that you have 10,000 small to medium business customers. They care whether you have 3 customers that look exactly like them. And enterprise clients rarely allow public attribution. They have PR teams, legal teams, competitive concerns, and compliance requirements. Getting logo approval can take a year. And enterprise proof needs to be peer level. A CEO doesn't care what a VP of marketing says. They want to hear from another CEO. And enterprise proof emphasizes risk mitigation, not innovation. Small to medium business buyers want to know, is this cool? Enterprise buyers want to know, will this blow up in my face? So if you're trying to build enterprise proof using small to medium business tactics, you're doomed. So let me break down the 5 forms of proof that actually work in enterprise B2B. Form 1, ghosted authority quotes. We covered this earlier, but it's worth reinforcing because it's really your most versatile tool. The format it takes is role at a descriptor, industry, company told us, specific credible quote with a metric. Examples of this would be the CFO of a $2 billion healthcare system told us we cut our reporting cycle from 22 days to 8 days, and for the first time in my career, I'm not chasing people for numbers. Or the VP of operations at a Fortune 100 retailer said the ROI became obvious in week 3. We stopped the pilot early just to get it into production faster. Why this works is you have credibility. Role plus scale plus industry. It's specific because it includes metrics. It's emotional because it includes the human impact. It's legally safe. There are no names and no attribution. And it's sales ready because it can be used immediately. Form 2 would be your composite success narratives. When you have multiple similar deployments, you should combine them into one story that represents the typical experience. The format looks like, we recently worked with an industry company that, problem description. Here's how we approached it, and here's what happened. For example, we worked with a mid-market logistics company processing 50,000 shipments monthly. They were losing an average of 120 shipments per month and tracking errors, which was costing them about $400,000 annually in corrections and customer refunds. We implemented our solution in a phased rollout over 10 weeks. Within the first 30 days post-implementation, lost shipment incidents dropped by 67%. By month 3, they were down to fewer than 12 lost shipments per month. That's a 90% reduction. The operations director told us this was the smoothest enterprise software implementation they'd ever experienced, and their team was actually using the system without constant support tickets. This outcome is representative of our deployments with 11 logistics clients in the past 2 years. Now, why does this work? First, it tells a complete story, problem, solution, outcome. It includes specific metrics. It addresses implementation concerns, provides a comparative context, 11 similar clients, and doesn't require any single client's approval. Format 3, aggregated metrics and performance data. So when stories aren't possible, you have to lead with numbers. The format looks something like, across X enterprise deployments, we've consistently seen these specific outcomes. For example, 2024 enterprise deployment results, 18 clients, financial services sector. Average time to full deployment, 12.3 weeks. Average system uptime, first 90 days, 99.8%. Average transaction processing speed improvement, 42%. Average cost per transaction reduction, 37 cents. Client renewal rate, 100%. Average NPS score, 68. Why does that work? Well, it provides scale and repeatability. It shows you've done this before, 18 times. It demonstrates sector expertise, financial services, provides specific comparable metrics, and it builds confidence through patterns. Form 4, logo light but context-rich proof. Sometimes you can't use full logos, but you can hint at them or provide just enough detail to establish credibility without actually violating any agreements. Approaches that work, partial logos. Show a part of the logo but blur the rest. Or industry plus scale, like a Fortune 500 technology company. Or geographic plus sector, the largest telecommunications provider in Southeast Asia. Or descriptor substitution, a global top 3 cloud infrastructure provider. Or project-based attribution, we support the customer identity platform for one of the world's most used mobile apps. How this looks is like We provide the backend infrastructure for a streaming platform that serves 40 million concurrent users during peak hours. While we can't share their name publicly, we can tell you they selected us after evaluating 5 competitors specifically because of our proven track record with another top 10 streaming service. So, why does this work? Well, it establishes credibility through scale and it signals serious vetting. They evaluated 5 competitors and it implies peer proof, another top 10 streaming service. And it creates confidence without requiring logo approval. Now, Form 5, third party validation and credibility signals. When customer proof is really locked down, you need to stack every other form of proof you can get. So that would be things like analyst recognition, Gartner, Forrester, IDC mentions, or industry awards. Even regional or category specific awards matter. And security and compliance certifications like SOC 2 or ISO or HIPAA or FedRAMP. And partnership badges, AWS Advanced Partner or Microsoft Gold Partner. And media mentions, any coverage in industry trade publications, or advisory board members. Our technical advisory board includes the former CTO of such and such major company, and investor backing, backed by respected enterprise investor works, and customer count milestones, trusted by 47 Fortune 500 companies will work. Here's an example proof stack. Why enterprise teams trust us. Gartner Cool Vendor 2004, SOC Type 2 certified, deployed across 23 Fortune 500 companies, 99.9% uptime SLA verified by third-party monitoring. Technical advisory board includes former CTOs from Salesforce, Oracle, and IBM. 0 data breaches in 6 years of operation, backed by Sequoia Capital and Andreessen Horowitz. Why does that work? Multiple proof types reduce skepticism. Third-party validation carries weight. It shows you're vetted by credible sources. And it demonstrates maturity and reliability. And it doesn't require any customer permission. Now, there's a proof hierarchy for enterprise. And not all proof is created equal. So here's how enterprise buyers rank different forms of proof. Tier 1, the strongest. Direct peer reference conversations, same role, same industry, similar scale, or a full case study with attribution, name, logo, metrics, quote. Tier 2 would be something like a ghosted quote from a credible source with specific metrics, an executive reference call off the record but verifiable, or a composite case study with aggregated data. Moving down to Tier 3, we're talking aggregated performance metrics across multiple clients, or third-party validation, things from analysts, awards, or certifications, or logo-light proof with context. And Tier 4, generic testimonials without context, and self-reported metrics without verification, or marketing claims without backing. And then Tier 5, you're the very weakest, promises without proof, and trust us positioning, or just silence. Most companies are operating honestly in Tier 4 or Tier 5 because they're waiting to build Tier 1 proof. But Tier 2 and Tier 3 proof will close deals right now. And once you close more deals with Tier 2 and Tier 3 proof, you'll have more opportunities to actually build that Tier 1 proof that's gold. Now, let's address the elephant in the room. Why won't clients let you use their names? Common reasons include competitive intelligence. They don't want competitors knowing what they're using. Or PR policy. They have blanket policies against being used in vendor marketing. Or security concerns. They don't want to signal what's in their tech stack. And legal risk. They're worrying about being liable if your solution fails for someone else. Or procurement leverage. They don't want other vendors knowing they're a customer. And internal politics, because different departments have different views on public attribution. Here's the thing. These are all legitimate concerns. And you're not going to convince most enterprise clients to ignore them. So stop trying to force public attribution. Instead, design your proof strategy around these constraints. Build your tier 2 and tier 3 proof first. Then, for the rare clients who will actually go public, treat that as a bonus tier 1 asset. Now, my final point on enterprise proof: staleness kills. In enterprise B2B, a case study from 3 years ago signals irrelevance. And technology changes, best practices evolve, and your solution probably changed significantly. If most of your recent proof is old, buyers assume that your product has stagnated. You're not winning any new clients, and the market has moved on, or you're not keeping up. Fresh proof signals momentum, even if it's imperfect. A 6-month-old ghosted quote beats a 3-year-old perfect case study every single time. So part of your proof engine, which we'll cover next, has to include systematic refreshes. You should be generating new proof assets every single quarter. All right, let's talk about how to systemize this, because the pattern I see in most companies is what I call the proof scramble. It goes like this. A big deal gets to the final stages, and then the prospect asks for case studies or references, and then sales panics and asks marketing for proof, and then marketing scrambles to pull something together quickly, and then they realize they don't have anything current or relevant, and then they try to rush a case study through legal, and then that takes 3 months, and then the deal dies. And then this happens over and over because proof is treated as a reactive scramble instead of a proactive system. You need a proof engine. And a proof engine is a systematic process for capturing, creating, and deploying proof assets continuously, not just when you need them, but before you need them. So here's the architecture. Component 1, embedded capture and delivery. Proof capture should not be a separate initiative that happens after the fact. It should be built into your delivery process. Specifically, a 30-day check-in. Every client needs to get a structured check-in at 30 days post-implementation. You're ostensibly checking in on how things are going, but you're also capturing early wins and quotes. So here's the questions that I would ask. What's working better than expected? What surprised you in the first month? And if you were talking to a peer who was considering this, what would you tell them? And then follow that up with a 90-day metrics review. At 90 days, you're reviewing actual performance metrics against the baseline. And this is where you capture the before-after data that you'll need for your case studies. So, questions that will actually get the data you need. So you ask them, what metrics have improved? And what's the cost or the time savings you're seeing? And what problems have gone away? And then you come back and you do an annual success review. So once a year, you go back and you do a comprehensive review with every single client. This is your opportunity to capture the long-term impact story. So here's a few questions that I would explore. First of all, what's different now compared to before implementation? And then what would it cost if you had to go back to the old way? And what have you been able to do because of this that you couldn't have done before? The key is these aren't optional. They need to be part of your standard delivery process. And your customer success team needs to be trained to capture proof during these conversations. And then you're capturing it in real time while it's fresh, while the client is absolutely happy, not months later when you need a case study and they moved on or hit a rough patch. Now, component 2 of your system, the proof asset library. You're going to need a centralized repository where all the proof assets live and are accessible to your sales team. This cannot be buried in Google Drives or OneDrive and not scattered across different documents, or you really need a single source of truth. And this library should include a ghosted quotes database that needs to be organized by industry and use case and role. And each quote includes the context, so company size, industry, role, and specific metric. And then a composite stories library. You need like 3 to 5 templated narratives of your most common use cases. And then you update those quarterly with fresh data. And a metric sheet, aggregated performance data across your whole customer base, refreshed monthly, preferably. And then a reference network directory, an internal only list of clients willing to serve as references with notes on what they're best positioned to speak on. And then third party validation assets, any analyst reports, awards, certifications, media mentions, and all of those need to be organized and ready to deploy. And then industry specific proof packs. Prepackage your proof assets into a tailored, specific to the industry, like healthcare, financial services, retail, whatever is applicable to you. And most critically, this library is maintained by marketing, but it is built for sales. So every asset should be sales ready. No heavy design, no lengthy documents, one pagers, slide inserts, email templates, assets that can be deployed in minutes by sales, not in days. Component 3 of your system is to normalize unattributed proof. This is a culture shift that has to happen from leadership. Your sales team needs to be trained and given explicit permission to use ghosted quotes and anonymized data confidentially. Most sales reps hesitate to use unattributed proof because it feels weaker than attributed proof, but it's not really. And it's definitely dramatically better than no proof. So you need to train them on delivery. Teach your sales team exactly how to present ghosted quotes and composite stories in a way that builds credibility. An example script. I can't share their name publicly, but let me tell you about a deployment we did last quarter for a Fortune 100 retailer. Not, I wish I could share a name, but they won't let me. One sounds confident, the other sounds defensive. And then provide templates. Give your sales team templated language for different proof scenarios, like how to introduce a ghosted quote and how to transition to a composite story and how to frame aggregated metrics and how to position an off-the-record reference call. And then celebrate unattributed proof wins. When a deal closes and the sales rep says, the ghosted quote sealed it, then you need to celebrate that publicly and make it clear that unattributed proof is legitimate, valuable, and closable. And remove the apology. Sales reps should never apologize for having unattributed proof. I can't share names due to confidentiality, but here's what I can share is confident. Unfortunately, we don't have any case studies yet, is dead in the water. Now, component 4, the quarterly proof sprint. Every quarter, you need to run a focus sprint to refresh and expand your proof library. So, week 1, run an audit. Ask, what proof assets do we have? What's outdated and needs to be retired? And what gaps exist? Industries, use cases, buyer personas. And then week 2, capture them. Reach out to recent successful clients and conduct success review calls and capture new quotes and metrics and stories. And then week 3, create. Build out your new ghosted quotes and update composite stories with fresh data and create new industry-specific proof packs. And then week 4, deploy them. Train sales on new assets and then update the proof library and get feedback from the sales team on what's actually working. This quarterly rhythm ensures you're constantly refreshing your proof and filling gaps before they actually become problems. Component 5, the proof scorecard. You can't manage what you don't measure, so you need a simple scorecard that tracks your proof health. So here's your key metrics. First of all, coverage metrics. The number of industries with proof assets, the number of use cases with proof assets, and the number of buyer personas with proof assets. And then your freshness metrics. We're talking average age of proof assets, percentage of assets under 6 months old, and the date of the last proof library update. And usage metrics. The number of proof assets deployed per deal. The win rate when proof is used versus not used. And time to close when proof is available versus not available. And then pipeline metrics, the number of deals that stalled waiting for proof, the number of deals lost citing lack of proof, and proof requests from prospects by type. And then capture metrics, the number of proof assets created per quarter, the conversion rate, client success to proof asset, and the time from capture to deployment. Review this scorecard monthly. When you see gaps or trends, adjust your proof strategy accordingly. You can't build proof for everything at once, so you need to prioritize. And here's how to decide what proof to build first. First of all, you need proof for your highest value deals. So look at your pipeline. What deals are in final stages? What industries or use cases do they represent? You need to build proof for those first, even if it's just ghosted quotes, even if it's a quick composite story. Get something in your sales team's hands for the deals that matter most right now. And then priority 2, proof for your most common objections. What is the number one reason deals stall? Is it we're worried about implementation complexity? Is it we're not sure that this scales? Or is it we're concerned about reliability? Build proof that directly addresses that objection. Ghosted quotes from clients who had the same concern, or metrics that prove the opposite of the fear. And then priority 3, proof for expansion markets. If you're trying to break into a new industry or a use case, you need proof from that space, even if it's just one composite story or a handful of ghosted quotes. Without it, you're asking prospects to be guinea pigs. With it, you're showing that you've done this before. And priority 4, proof that differentiates you. What do you do better than competitors? Build proof around that specifically. If your implementation is faster, then you need to capture metrics that prove it. Or if your support is more responsive, then capture quotes that highlight that. Or if your solution is more reliable, then you capture uptime data that demonstrates it. Now, let's talk about how to actually get more attributed proof when possible. Because while ghosted proof works, attributed proof is still more powerful. So you really should always try for it. You can't just wait around for it. Timing matters. The best time to ask for attribution is when the client is the happiest. So week 4 post-implementation, when everything is working beautifully, is a perfect time to ask. And month 6, when they've seen measurable ROI, or after you've solved a crisis for them. Don't wait until you need it for a sales deck. Ask when goodwill is absolutely the highest. And then start small. Don't lead with, can we do a full case study with your logo on our website? That's a big ask that triggers legal review. Start with something more like, would you be willing to provide a quote we could use in conversations with prospects without attribution? That's a much easier yes. Then, if they're comfortable with that, you can later ask, would you be open to us using your company name in that quote, just in private sales conversations, not on our public website? Small steps, progressive permissions, and you're going to get a much higher success rate. You can also offer value exchanges and say something more like, we'd love to feature you as a case study. In exchange, we'll give you early access to our new features, a dedicated success manager for the next quarter, and priority support. You have to make it worth their while, especially if they're going to invest time in legal review and approvals. And then have a graduated permission set. Create a simple form that lets clients choose their comfort level. Something that would be like, willing to provide an anonymous quote, no name, no company, or willing to provide an attributed quote, name, title, no company logo, or willing to have a company name used in private sales settings, or willing to have a company logo used in private sales decks, or willing to be featured in a public case study, or willing to speak as a reference to qualified prospects. And then you let them pick where they're comfortable. You are going to get way more yeses by giving them control. And you need to make it easy for them. You provide them with a draft. Here's how we describe the project and the results. What would you change? Works wonderfully. Don't ask them to write it from scratch. Do the heavy lifting yourself and then just get their approval. Here's the final key principle. Proof compounds. The more proof you have, the easier it is to get more proof. Because when you can show prospects that you have 15 successful deployments in their industry, they're more willing to move forward. And when they succeed, they become proof asset number 16, which makes it easier to close deal number 17, which gives you proof asset number 17. Proof velocity accelerates over time if you start building the engine now. But if you wait, if you keep operating in a reactive scramble mode, you stay stuck in the no proof, can't close deals, no new proof death spiral. So the time to start is today. All right, let's make this actionable because strategy without execution is just conversation. And you didn't listen this far to just think about the problem. So here's your move this week. It's called the 48-hour proof sprint. So day one, a rapid audit. It's going to take you 2 hours. In the first hour, I need you to do a deal audit. Pull your last 10 closed deals, both wins and losses. For each deal, answer these questions. First, did we have proof to share when asked? Second, what type of proof did we use or wish we had? Third, did lack of proof contribute to loss or delay? And fourth, what specific proof would have accelerated this deal? Now do the same for your current pipeline. Which deals are in late stages? What proof do they need and what proof do we currently have that's relevant? This audit will show you exactly where your proof gaps are costing you money right now. In hour two, you need to do an asset inventory. List every proof asset you currently have. Case studies, full, attributed. Customer quotes, attributed or ghosted. Video testimonials, reference customers willing to speak to prospects. And metrics or performance data and third-party validation, anything like analyst reports, awards, certifications. And then for each asset, you need to note the date created or captured, the industry or use case relevance, and the quality. Is it strong, medium, weak, and accessibility? Does the sales team even know about it? Is it easy to find and use? You need to be brutally honest. If your sales team doesn't know an asset exists or can't find it quickly, it doesn't even count. Now, day two, the proof creation sprint. It's going to take you 3 to 4 hours. In this time, you're going to create 3 proof assets that your sales team can use immediately. The first asset needs to be a ghosted quote set. It's going to take you about an hour. Think about your last 3 successful customer deployments. For each one, craft a ghosted quote that includes the role or title of the person, like a CTO, a VP of operations, etc. The company descriptor is, are they like a Fortune 500 manufacturer, a mid-market SaaS company, etc. The specific challenge they had and the specific result they got with some kind of metric. And then the human element, how they felt or what surprised them. Here's an example of the format. The CFO of an $800 million healthcare technology company told us, I was skeptical we could cut our month-end close time without sacrificing accuracy, but we went from 12 days to 6 days in the first quarter after implementation. My team is less stressed, and our board gets financials a week earlier. Now, write 3 of these and use different industries and different use cases and different metrics. And then asset 2, the composite success story. This one's going to take you probably about 90 minutes. Pick your most common use case, the scenario you sell into most frequently. Now create a compositive narrative that combines the results from 3 to 5 similar deployments. It needs to look something like title, put the industry, company cuts, metric by percentage. And then the challenge. Describe the typical problem your customers face in this scenario. Use specific details, but don't name anyone. And then the approach. Describe how you typically solve this problem. What's your methodology? What's the implementation process? And then the results. Share the aggregated metrics from multiple deployments. Across 5 similar deployments in 2024, we saw an average reduction of 34% in processing time, with all the implementations completed under 10 weeks. And then the impact. Include a ghosted quote about the broader business impact or team experience. And make it 1 page. Make it readable and make it deployable. Next up is asset 3, the metrics 1-pager. It's going to take you probably an hour. You just want to create a simple 1-pager titled Your Company Results and the Relevant Time Period. Pull together the number of enterprise deployments, the average implementation time, the average uptime or other reliability metrics, the average improvement in key metrics like cost, time, efficiency, etc. and the client retention rate, and any other quantifiable outcomes. You need to format it cleanly. Add your logo and make it look professional, but don't overthink the design. This becomes your proof of scale asset when you can't share specific stories. Now, day 3, the deployment. It's going to take you about 30 minutes. We want to get these assets into your sales team's hands. So step 1 is to upload them to wherever your sales team has access to collateral, like a Slack channel, a shared drive, a sales enablement platform, wherever they're actually going to see it. And then step 2 is to actually send a message to your sales team and say, like, new proof assets available as of today. Here's 3 ghosted quotes for industries or the use cases, and 1 composite success story for this common scenario, and 1 metrics 1-pager showing the results across our customer base. These are all approved for use in sales conversations. You don't need to wait for attribution or legal approval. Use them confidently when prospects ask, who else has done this? Let me know what's helpful and what other proof you need. And then step 3, schedule a 15-minute team sync to walk through how to use these assets. Role play the scenarios with the sales team. Now, the 30-day challenge. After you deploy these assets, I need you to track how many times they're used and which deals they appear in and whether they're contributing to closed deals and what additional proof gaps surface. After 30 days, run another sprint and create 3 more assets based on what you learned. If you do this monthly, within 6 months, you'll have a proof library that transforms your sales effectiveness. Finally, I want you to ask yourself one question this week. If I could only have 3 proof assets for the next 90 days, what would they be? Not 30 assets, not a comprehensive library, just 3. What 3 pieces of proof would have the biggest impact on your current pipeline? Then build those first, because perfect proof in 6 months won't save the deals that you're losing today. But imperfect proof deployed this week, well, that might. All right, let's bring this home. Here's the one thing I need you to remember from this episode. Enterprise growth lives and dies on proof. Not on your product, not on your pricing, and not on your positioning. On proof. Proof that real companies with real problems get real results. And if you're waiting for the perfect case studies while your pipeline is dying, you're making a strategic mistake that's costing millions. Imperfect proof beats perfect silence every single time. So please, stop waiting for logo approvals that may never come, and stop letting legal slow walk you into irrelevance, and stop sending your sales team into enterprise meetings empty-handed. Build ghosted quotes, build composite stories, build out aggregated metrics, and build a proof library that your team can actually use. And then watch what happens. Your sales cycle will shorten, and your win rates will improve, and your deal sizes will grow. Not because your product got better, but because you finally gave buyers what they actually needed. The confidence that this has worked before and will work for them. And here's the cruel truth. Leaders who solve the proof problem are the leaders who scale companies. Because proof isn't a marketing problem, it's a growth problem. And solving growth problems is what gets you promoted and recruited and trusted with bigger opportunities. So this week, do the sprint, build the assets, deploy them to your team. Don't wait for perfect. Move with what you can actually build right now. Because case studies or death isn't dramatic. It's just reality. And the leaders who win in enterprise B2B are the ones who face that reality head on and build systematic solutions. Thanks for listening to The Rise with Sterling Phoenix. If this episode gave you the clarity you needed to finally solve your proof problem, take a moment and subscribe on Substack or your favorite podcast host to keep your momentum in motion. And remember, you have everything you need to turn proof from a scramble into an actual system, because this is your moment. The deals you close this quarter depend on the proof you build this week, so make it count. And one last thing before you go. If you're a sales leader listening to this thinking my marketing team needs to hear this, then send them the link. And if you're a marketing leader thinking my sales team needs to understand why this matters, then share it with them. Because the proof problem only gets solved when revenue teams work together. Sales knows what proof closes deals. Marketing knows how to capture and package it. Customer success knows when clients are the happiest. And when those three functions align around building a proof engine, well, that's when companies break through the plateaus and actually scale. Be the leader that drives that alignment. Here's the truth. Good is crowded. Burnout is optional. Leaders rise when they choose clarity. This is The Rock.